Retro.
Are you an aspiring Jedi, or do you dabble with the dark side of the Force?
Regardless of whether you fancy yourself a defender of the light or an aspiring Sith Lord, you're going to need a lightsaber.
Podcast Stardust is pleased to partner with Saber Masters, the creators of high-quality, durable, and affordable lightsabers.
Saber Masters is preparing to launch the Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0, and right now you can get 2 for the price of 1.
So, check out the link in our show notes and go get your Ultimate Lightsabers from Saber Masters.
And don't forget to use our referral code STARDUST to save $10 at checkout.
And each purchase using our referral code helps support Podcast Stardust.
Hi, this is Fred Tatasciore, and you're listening to Dennis and Jay on Podcast Stardust. The Force is strong with both of them.
Hello, and welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And you're playing wounded tonight. So thanks for joining us, Jay. I know you're not up to your best. This episode of Podcast Stardust is our regularly weekly news episode, but it's mostly going to be a tribute to James Earl Jones. But before we start paying respects, Jay, I want to remind everybody where we can be found around the internet.
Absolutely. We are most easily found on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust.
All right. The dish is aligned. The signal is boosted to maximum output. The shield is down. We are now broadcasting to the galaxy. So our lead story is, of course, the passing of James Earl Jones. Considering this happened at the beginning of the week, I highly doubt that we are the first to tell you that had happened. He passed away Monday, September 9th at the age of 93. And of course, we all know him best as the voice of Darth Vader. So I know, Jay, when this news broke, everybody that knows me as a Star Wars fan texted me, direct messaged me through Facebook or Instagram. I just had notifications coming in from all over the place.
Oh, yeah. And what a blow. I mean, this was completely out of the blue. I didn't even realize that he was suffering any kind of illness or, anything of that nature either. Did you?
No, but at 93, I mean,
sure.
Every day is a gift at that point.
Right.
And so I frankly, I didn't realize he was quite that old until I heard that he had passed. And so, consider ourselves fortunate, I suppose. It makes me, wonder about John Williams, who's up there as well. So,
yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth with that one, but
right.
John seems to be still kicking it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Still writing music, still busy man. Like I said, we all know him as the voice of Darth Vader. That was the iconic thing that he's known for. But of course, some other famous roles are, Mufasa and the Lion King. He appeared in Coming to America, Conan the Barbarian, Dr. Strangelove, Field of Dreams, Sandlot, and then he appeared in the Hunt for October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger, that trilogy movies as well. Those are the ones that came to mind for me. Were there other movies that you could think of that he appeared in?
I think you pretty much nailed it right there. Mm-hmm. Those are definitely some of my favorites as well. So yeah.
And of course he does This is CNN on the CNN channel. If you've ever watched that, you usually hear that a couple times an hour. I was a little surprised to see how decorated he was. I had no idea he had won as many awards as he had, and that he was an EGOT on top of that. Did you know that before?
No, I didn't. And it's pretty amazing in a way that, amazing as in ironic, that most often we tend to learn more about those that we care about after they've passed. And this is definitely, no exception to that. So yeah, the extent that you have here in our notes, I was looking through this and I thought to myself, wow, yeah, I'm not surprised, but I just didn't know these things.
Yeah, right. So he won the Tony Award twice for The Great White Hope and Fences. He had 8 Emmy nominations with 2 wins. He won for supporting actor in Heat Wave and lead actor in Gabriel's Fire. He's received a Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. He won the honorary Oscar in 2011. He had the Lifetime Achievement Tony Award in 2017. And to round out the EGOT, he had the Grammy in 1977, I should say, for the spoken word album Great American Documents. So, getting just a couple of those things is fantastic. But to, get the EGOT and then the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award is, a super amazing accomplishment. There's a lot of people that you're lucky to get one of those awards or two, and then there's a lot of them that are hanging on three, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, for instance. But to get all four puts him in rare air.
Right. And so, I mean, his life definitely has been one major legacy to leave behind, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, my favorite role of his is the voice of Darth Vader. Did you have, what would you say is his other, outside of Star Wars, is your favorite role that he's done?
Well, of course, Mufasa is
Yeah.
right up there in The Lion King. Who can deny that one? But I love Coming to America. That
Mm-hmm.
is one of my favorite movies ever. My husband and I quote that all the time. And someone had actually put a nice little mashup of the lines that he had from Conan the Barbarian, or I'm sorry, from Coming to America into the Star Wars lines, and it was pretty amusing. So it was kind of a fun little tribute, there. But I would definitely say that those are my two top there. But what about you?
Oh yeah, definitely Mufasa in The Lion King. That's another iconic voice role of his. But I gotta say, his work, I can't remember what the character's name is, that he played in the Hunt for October and the sequels. But and my wife Beth has been reciting this line, I should say, over and over for the past couple days. But he's there in the Dallas, the submarine, and there's a torpedo fired at the Red October, and just as it's about to impact, he reaches down and he presses the button to explode the torpedo, and he tells the officer, he's like, "You heard the torpedo impact the hull, and I was never here." Just the way he pulled that off was absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome.
Um, a lot of people have been pouring in with statements about James Earl Jones. I gotta say, I have not seen this many for any actor in a very long time. I think since maybe Robin Williams, of all
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
But every day, if I check Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, there's a fresh tribute to him from somebody, and lots of people had nothing to do with Star Wars. But I've highlighted a few here in our notes. You're playing injured, so I'll read these. But first, from Bob Iger on behalf of Disney, from the gentle wisdom of Mufasa to the menacing threat of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones gave voice to some of the greatest characters in cinema history. A celebrated stage actor with nearly 200 film and television credits to his name, the stories he brought to life with a uniquely commanding presence and a true richness of spirit had left an indelible mark on generations of audiences. On behalf of all of us at Disney, we extend our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones. So, yeah, I mean, probably the two biggest being his role in Star Wars and Lion King
Mm-hmm.
seems very fitting.
Absolutely.
You know,
That's a nice one.
and then Kathleen Kennedy said James Earl Jones is one of the most versatile and talented actors of our time, with an iconic body of work across film, stage, and television. The menacing baritone he brought to Darth Vader will forever be beloved by fans and regarded as one of the great villainous performances in cinema. His commanding presence on screen and warm personality off screen will be greatly missed. Yeah, true words have never been spoken.
Mm-hmm. It's another great one.
Yeah, George Lucas chimed in. James was an incredible actor, a most unique voice, both in art and spirit. For nearly half a century, he was Darth Vader, but the secret to it all is he was a beautiful human being. He gave depth, sincerity, and meaning to all his roles, amongst the most important being devoted husband to the late Cece and dad to Flynn. James will be missed by so many of us, friends and fans alike. And then
Nice.
perhaps my favorite one was Mark Hamill, and I saw this via Instagram. And he simply said, one of the world's finest actors whose contributions to Star Wars were immeasurable. He'll be greatly missed. Hashtag RIP dad, broken heart emoji.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah. Have you seen, I've seen this a couple places now, but the image going around on Instagram, and it was like a good chunk of the cast at like an intersection. And as they've passed away, they've like turned them into Force ghosts. So,
Yes.
Peter, Carrie, Kenny Baker, and now Alec Guinness, and now I think they photoshopped Earl Jones, and I don't think he wasn't in that photo because I never met Carrie before then. But it's like,
Mhm.
wow, that core cast, Dave Prowse. I mean, now both halves of Darth Vader are gone.
Right,
Uh,
right.
they are, they're leaving us, and something we've been saying all along. If you ever get the opportunity to meet these people and you want to take advantage of it, because you at this stage, we're coming up on, before long, 50 years of A New Hope. They're just not going to be around anymore.
Exactly, exactly, and, it just makes me more and more grateful every day that we've been able to say that we were on Earth at the same time as these legends.
Hmm.
It's absolutely amazing, and, to your point with some of the, different types of tributes and things that have been out there, there was one that was, drawn, or I don't know if it was AI, but, James Earl Jones was at the peak, if you will, and
Hmm.
then there were 2 lines of actors kinda coming out from behind him, almost in a triangular shape, and they too were all of the different actors that have since passed away. So as you mentioned, Carrie Fisher, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, and even Carl Weathers was in there, and all of our beloved stars that have been gone too soon.
Yeah. One of the favorite things that I've seen this week were some of the clips from The Big Bang Theory when he was a
Oh yeah.
guest on there. And so, there's the one of, I can't remember which one of the characters went with him to prank Carrie Fisher, and they did a little ding and dash type
Oh,
of a
that was
thing.
Sheldon. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's telling, James was telling Sheldon, it's like, hey, we got to run because Carrie can be a little bit crazy.
Hmm.
Come to find out, Carrie and James had never met each other prior to that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they because he was doing his work in a recording studio somewhere, and so he never interacted with the majority of that crew for most of the time when the movies were being filmed. And so yeah, I love that because he rings the doorbell and they run off, and then she comes out, and I think she's carrying a bat. She screams, "This is not funny anymore, James."
Oh
Um,
wow, I didn't realize that they had never met before that. That's crazy.
yeah, and when they met on the set there, she apparently ran up to him and screamed, "Dad!" So
Oh, that sounds like Carrie.
yeah, and then the other clip that goes around from The Big Bang is when Sheldon met him, I guess, in a restaurant, and he was sitting down
Hmm.
eating dinner, and James Earl Jones is there at the table going like, "I bet you like Star Wars." And Sheldon's nodding. He's like, "Guess what? I like Star Wars too. Sit down." Yeah,
Good stuff.
this one's a tough
It
loss. I
is
mean, they're
tough.
all tough, but he's just been around so long, and he's synonymous with Darth Vader at this point, perhaps more so than anybody. And but one of the things I learned a bit, some things about him performing that role first in A New Hope, and this has been in a lot of different clips from a lot of different places. But first of all, he wasn't even the first choice. They originally wanted Orson Welles.
Right. I saw that.
I can't imagine Darth Vader voiced by Orson
No,
Welles.
I can't either. And I
It
didn't
would,
know that until now that they were considering that.
yeah, that would have been not nearly as menacing when it
No.
came down to it. And then he talked about how the direction he got from George Lucas was to take all the humanity out of Darth Vader, because James Earl Jones went into the studio and he was trying to add like performance to all of this, and that's not what George wanted. He wanted him to come off as alien, as inhuman, and so that's why it is. Most of his lines, with a few exceptions, are delivered, in this, you know, without inflection for the most part.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And these two blew my mind. For his work on A New Hope, he received a grand total of $7,000.
Whew, big paycheck.
Well, I mean, for 2.5 hours work, I suppose, but he was not credited, and I don't think I've ever noticed that before. That he wasn't credited in A New Hope when that movie first came out.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either. So I'm assuming like with the, re-releases and the special editions is when that was actually put in.
Oh, I mean, eventually it came out that he did the role, but I've got a copy of the original Star Wars poster on my wall behind me, and I just looked over there, and sure enough, he's not listed in the credits. But then
Wow.
again, a lot of people aren't. It's Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing, and Alec Guinness.
Wow.
They don't credit Dave Prowse on the poster either.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
that, And like I said, he recorded all the lines in just a few hours. And I saw this in a recording of a Conan O'Brien interview. And then when they came back to do The Empire Strikes Back, they had to sit down and figure out what it was they did the first time that worked out. And it took a lot longer. And his response to delivering perhaps one of the biggest twists in cinematic history, I Am Your Father, was like he just didn't believe it. He wondered how they were going to explain away that lie
I
at
saw
some
that
point.
one. Mhm.
So yeah, he wasn't in on it. I mean, and that just he delivered the line, for the recording, but it was like what 3 or 4 people, including George Lucas and Mark Hamill, knew this before the movie came out. So
Uh-huh.
so yeah, yeah. I mean, so there it is. That's James Earl Jones, and it's he was 93, so he lived a long, successful life, and we got him for far longer than we deserved, but it still stinks to see him go.
Yeah, it really does. And it was ironic because I was watching Rogue One on Monday
Hmm.
and because I was homesick and I was thinking to myself, gosh, I wonder how much longer he's going to be able to do this. And then lo and behold, you texted me and I thought, oh my gosh, that's just so crazy.
Yeah,
And we definitely lost a legend and then the world will never be the same. That's for
that's
sure.
true. Yeah, no, he did license his voice to be used as Darth Vader to Lucasfilm.
Hmm.
So we'll see if they continue to do that. I don't know,
Hmm.
because he didn't actually record the lines for Obi-Wan Kenobi. They used that some version of a respeecher app to
Hmm.
do those lines. But I'll be curious to see what they do going forward, if they'll continue to use that or if they'll get another actor to do it since he's passed.
Yes,
But
for sure.
all right. Well, again, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. So, well, this is not going to be a cheery episode. The next story we have in the news is that Ahsoka won the Emmy for Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes. That sounds like reason to celebrate. Of course, Shauna Tripchick, who has also recently passed away, was the person. She was the costume designer behind
Hmm.
that, and so she's received this award posthumously, and along with the rest of her team, Melissa Alcala, who's
Hmm.
the assistant costume designers, and Devin Patterson, who was the costume supervisor. You and I have been pulling for this ever
Oh,
since we
yeah.
heard that they were nominated. So I was really pleased to hear that she won.
Oh, for sure. And Alyssa Akala is actually very interactive on Instagram, and was posting a lot of the kind of behind the scenes sorts of things. And she even wore a wedding dress that was crafted to look like Ahsoka the White, and she had her hair and everything done as Ahsoka's head tails and everything. And she was just so over the moon with their win. And she had a pin of Shauna, like an enamel pin that she
Ah,
wore to the ceremony, and they were just all completely just so happy with everything. And again, it was just really nice because Alyssa is very interactive, as I said, and she was responding to even some of my comments, and so it was just such a joy to see them being able to pull this off, especially with Shauna being gone.
indeed, indeed. So yeah, I was very happy for them. Ahsoka had also been nominated for the Emmy for Outstanding Period or Fantasy Sci-Fi Hairstyling, Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup, Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Season or a Movie, and Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series, Half Hour, and Animation. Didn't win any of those. I don't know who won. I didn't look it up. I really hadn't been following the Emmys all that close. But of course, Star Wars and a bunch of other outlets were promoting Ahsoka's win for the costumes, and very well deserved. The costumes were fantastic in
Oh,
that
for
series.
sure. Hmm.
And then our last bit of unfortunate news is that Star Wars comics artist John Cassidy has died at age 52. Now, if I hadn't told you that he was a comics artist, most of you probably wouldn't have known that. But he was the artist for Star Wars, written by Jason Aaron, after Marvel got the license back and started putting out new comics in 2015. And his work was fantastic. I have that issue framed, and issue number 1 framed and hanging up on my wall. He did fantastic work. I can't remember if he did that entire run or if he left it at some point, because I believe Salvador Roca may have taken it over at some point. But yeah, he kicked it all off for Star Wars again, and I didn't catch what the cause was then, and I don't know that it's necessarily important to us, other than, of course, we extend our condolences to his family and loved ones. But the comics have been huge for me for years, and it was only recently that I started to get behind in them. But I read those issues religiously when they would come out on the day of for so many years, and so it is another unfortunate passing and a very big loss to comics and Star Wars in general.
Oh, definitely, and so young, 52.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's just so sad.
Yeah, we're in that bracket. So,
We are definitely
yeah, best not to
younger
think
than
about that,
me.
I suppose.
Right.
But
Yeah.
all right. Well, there's a few other things that we could have included in the news this week, but I feel like that Mr. Jones deserved the bulk of our attention. And since these other stories were of a similar tone, I would have included them. But we'll catch up on the other news next week. Any other final thoughts on these before we wrap it up, Jay?
No, just again, just sad to see these amazing people leave our presence, but their
Mm-hmm.
work will always live on for sure.
Indeed, indeed. Well said. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this very somber episode of Podcast Stardust and our discussion of Star Wars news and our remembrance of James Earl Jones, Shauna Tripchick, and John Cassidy. Thank you again for being here and remembering them with us. If you've enjoyed the episode, again, I know not the most exciting one. Please consider subscribing to the podcast if you haven't done so already. You know how to do that on your podcatcher choice. Again, you can find all of our past episodes over on retrozap.com, which is the home to the RetroZap Podcast Network, including such shows of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Case Files, Animaniacast, Brews and Blasters, Dork Lair, Doomcast, Enjoy Stuff, Love, Death, and Robots Plus, Superhero Suite, and Warp Trails. And you know how to do ratings, reviews. And if you could leave us one on your podcatcher of choice, that would be fantastic. Apple Podcast is the best. And again, you're sharing the show on social media with your friends. I want to shout out Dave Franzi. He put a very nice post about us on Facebook this past week, which was fantastic.
Nice.
So thanks to him for that. And anybody else who's been sharing the show, got a lot of great comments over on YouTube recently, and appreciate those as well. That means a lot to us that people are listening and responding and reacting and enjoying the show. Jay, you want to remind everybody what the social media contacts and other homes for the show are across the internet?
Sure can. You can very easily find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust. And we do still maintain some Pinterest boards over on that app. So if you're looking for some fun ideas, you can head over there. And we also have both of our YouTube channels up and running. So we have our regular YouTube and our YouTube music channel. So once again, head over to both of those, like, subscribe, and share those out. And if you're up for some real-time chatter, we do have a Discord room on the RetroZap Discord server. So you can check that out by hitting up that link in our show notes. And then if you'd like to support the show, we do have a couple different ways that you can do that. So we do have a TeePublic store, and the link, once again, is in our show notes. And we have 7 different show logo designs available on all kinds of things from home goods to apparel and everything in between. So you need to check that out. And also check out our Sabermasters referral, which is at sabermasters.com, or once again, hit up that link in our show notes, and you can head over to that site and check out one of tons of different battle ready sabers. They currently have a 2-for-1 deal going on. And if you do pick something up, make sure that you put in the code Stardust at checkout, and that will earn you an extra $10 off of your purchase. And it also does help to support the show.
All right. Jay, you want to give everybody an update on what you got going with cosplay? Because I know you're about to enter a busy period.
Yes. So just a week from today, I will be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic, and I will be there all weekend. So that's from the 20th through the 22nd of September at the IX Center. So I will have a table there, and I'm super duper excited because I am going to have a lot of my own merch there this year as well. So I've been working really hard to create some new and unique things. And I've also been working with my future daughter-in-law she has her own little jewelry store called Trippy Trinkets that you can find on Instagram. And she actually crafted some earrings and necklaces for me in the aesthetic of some of my characters, as well as some tie-dye tote bags that I'm going to be adding some embellishments to as well. So be on the lookout for those on my Instagram as well. Whatever doesn't sell at the con, I'm going to offer up. So you can check that out. And once again, that's at j.snips cosplay.
Okay. Upcoming on the show, Monday, we continue our rewatch of the Clone Wars. And on Wednesday, it is Jay's Fashion and Lifestyle segment devoted to Star Wars, World Between Worlds. So thanks for listening to episode 781 of Podcast Stardust. Have a great weekend, and until next time, may the Force be with you.